whole body's gonna be like, ah, go crazy, go stupid. And your emotions gonna be like, oh, I'm so sad. Oh, go crazy, go stupid. Hello. Don't mind my missing finger, thumb, pinky. Shut the fuck up. What I was trying to say is don't mind my missing thumbnail. But you clicked on this video because you saw that thumbnail. No, anyways, back to the point. Hello, my name is Flo, and welcome back to another episode of Crime Talk TV, where I just be talking because I'm always having something to say. Okay? Today, I want to talk about the art of detachment. Because if you attach to this shit, baby, you might as well just get the knuckle and the buckling out here, because that's what it's gonna be feeling like you're doing all the time. Fighting for your fucking life. Every time you allow yourself to be attached to something in this round, there's gonna be a reason or something to show you why you should be detached from it. Don't allow yourself to be overly attached. It's okay to have, healthy friendships and partnerships and whatever. But for you to fully be overly attached to it as if you own it or you possess it, it would drive you crazy. It would drive you insane. Because when certain things are not operating the way that you want them to operate, you get frustrated. If somebody do something to you and you don't expect them to do something to you the way that they do something to you, your feelings will be hurt. When something gets abruptly taken from you, whether that is death or a fucking something that's physical, like a goddamn phone or some weird ass whatever physical attachment, guess what? You're going to be devastated. Your heart is going to be broken. This is why we have to learn how to appreciate things for what they have to offer at the moments that they are presented to us, because nothing is permanent. Not only is nothing permanent, we don't own anything but ourselves. And even if you think you own whatever it is that you have, it's all temporary, and it can have the ability of being taken away from you at any moment. This is why you have to practice the art of detachment. This is why you have to learn how to process your feelings as certain things are presented to you, when certain things are triggering you, but not allowing yourself to be attached to the emotion per se, but allowing yourself to process and feel the emotion so that you're able to receive thoughts on how to move forward. Because if you're overly attached to whatever, like I said, with those few examples in the beginning, those different emotions can trigger you and or create a certain, it can create,
Hey, bro, come on now, dog.
you can
Come on, man.
you can allow yourself to create certain forms of thoughts that are not necessarily true, but are biased to certain things that you have experienced based on the attachments you have allowed yourself to have in your lifetime, right? So when certain things are, happening, you have to allow yourself to just take the shit as is. I'm not saying take the bullshit. No, don't ever just take bullshit, but take things for as is. If a fucking bird is showing you that it's a bird and it chooses to fly and shit on you, guess what? You knew it was a fucking bird. And that's what birds do. They fly and shit. So why get attached to a certain idea or perception of what you want it to be, and then when it does something that's opposite or it shows you exactly what it is, how can you be upset? You can't, right? Anyways, back to the point. For me, growing up, a lot of people told me I was an asshole, or I was mean, or I was blind, or yada yada yada, whatever those words they wanted to place on me, because at the time I was very emotionally detached, and my emotional detachment didn't just show in like being careless or reckless with my mouth and words. It wasn't necessarily that. It was the fact that I didn't allow myself to like truly understand where people were coming from. I was just going straight with logic, no emotion, right? Because essentially, hey, the emotion is how you allow yourself to get attached. Because when you allow yourself to be emotionally attached to things, then you create stronger bonds. And not only are you creating stronger bonds, you are creating stronger mental cords to certain things. So when you're attached to certain things, it's allowing your mind to think a certain way, which is also allowing your heart to feel a certain way because of whatever the attachment is. And that can be good or bad. You know, you can have attachments to literally all types of whatever you can have attachments to. Drugs, people, sex, weed. That's part of drugs, I guess. Literally anything could be a form of attachment. But if you're not allowing yourself to pay attention to why you're attached to those things, or why you're even allowing yourself to be codependent, not only codependent, but well, I was about to say dependent, but codependent on certain things. When those things are taken from you, you don't have them. Who are you? What are you left with when you don't have those attachments? What do you have to face when you don't have those attachments? You know, those are certain things you have to ask yourself when you are allowing yourself to like kind of run from certain voids, or you're trying to run from certain feelings, or you're trying to run away from certain, you know, memories, or whatever the case may be. You have to know that a lot of the things that you are allowing yourself to be attached to are for coping purposes. And if you're not allowing yourself to take that time to actually acknowledge what it is that needs to be held so that you can go through that darkness and fight those fucking demons, you know, you got to go through the fire. You have to go through the fire. If not, then you're just going to be burnt up on the inside, burnt alive. And who wants to be burnt alive? I don't think nobody wants to. So why would you allow yourself to sit there and suffering, or you know, suffering certain things that you have the ability to change? You know, you could have a healthy attachment to negative emotions, even though most people are not going to look at it as that. But when you're allowing yourself to be attached to things that are purposely keeping you away or suppressed from certain things, then therefore that's showing what? That you have an unhealthy attachment, let alone an attachment to things that are hurting you, and you're not even realizing that it's hurting you because you're attached to certain things that are helping you cope with whatever it is that you're going through, so that you don't have to face that void. But we have to fall into the void and eventually, you know, surrender to it, so that we are able to even see what it is that we're doing, and why we're doing what we're doing, how we're doing what we're doing. Because again, attachments is how they use certain things as leverage in this reality, or in this realm. This is why they get us attached to certain foods and drugs, and this is how they get us attached to certain foods and drugs and whatever else in this realm that you can get attached. There's so many different things to be attached to. It makes no sense. And you, again, like I was saying before, you have to know that the attachments that you are creating for yourself are essentially you trying to fill the void instead of feel the void. You're feeling it instead of feeling it. You know? Yeah. So the best way to know how to practice healthy detachment is like, when certain things trigger you, let that shit trigger you. Don't react unless it's necessary. You know what you need to do, how you need to do. But when you are being triggered and it sting you, right? Process it. Okay, yeah, I feel sad right now. Yeah, I want to beat this bitch ass. I do, because it just pissed me off. But essentially, they really don't know that they just pissed me off. So now I gotta be detached from the actual emotion and allow myself to actually, you know, ride with it instead of becoming it. Because if you allow yourself to be attached to the emotion, then therefore you become the emotion, to where you are reacting and responding and making decisions that are out of that emotion, instead of allowing yourself to stand side by side, or, you know, inside of it, essentially, or being one with it. And when you're not allowing yourself to actually acknowledge, you know, certain things, therefore you're not going to even realize what you're allowing yourself to be attached to. You know, when it comes to people or whatever. I know there were moments where I would like lie. I am not going to lie. Even though I was very emotionally detached, I was a attached person, if that makes sense. I know that sounds very contradictory, or like it's a contradiction, but like, I was like a hopeless romantic that did not like love but wanted to give love, if that makes sense. Like, I would see something like, oh my God, you're so broken, let me fix you. Oh, I can fix you, and yada yada yada, give you a little bit of love, blah 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 blah. And then I'll get mad when certain things are not reciprocating what it is that I want to get reciprocated. And that was my attachment to an idea that wasn't necessarily true for what I wanted to see. But because I allowed myself to be attached to a certain mindset, that attachment led to me, you know, kind of forcing detachment or learning detachment, because it's like I had to realize how I was playing a role into my own detriment to my health and my mental health and yada yada yada. And it's like, when you allow yourself to be attached to certain things, you have to realize that those attachments are cords, energetic cords that you are allowing yourself. Those are energetic cords that you are allowing yourself to be tied to you, obviously energetically. So when certain things are tied to you energetically, there is leaving room for thoughts to be received. Thoughts to be received that's not necessarily your own. Feelings that are being felt that's not necessarily your own. Certain behaviors, all of that, that's you are allowing to become you with certain attachments, because those attachments are also showing who you really are and what you are allowing. You know, each attachment essentially is a certain reflection of what it is that you either are not allowing yourself to pay attention to, and or showing you who you really are. You know, so yeah. And again, because we live in a society where attachment has basically been thrown at us, like they teach us how to be attached to all these different holidays, people, careers and jobs and this and that. They teach us how to be codependent on certain things, so therefore we are allowing ourselves to be attached to certain mindsets, where therefore those attachments, so like I just said before, are going to shape your mindset, quite literally. You know, when your mind is set on certain attachments, those attachments are therefore encrypting information or sending certain information to you. And this is why it's important too to pay attention to the attachments you do have, but still allowing yourself to be healthily detached from whatever those attachments you do have. You know, knowing that something, you know, is a part of your experience, but it doesn't belong to your experience. Let alone do you own certain things that are a part of your experience, but you're allowing yourself to enjoy whatever it is for those moments that you have it. You know, so when it goes away, you're not heartbroken and butthurt or whatever the case may be, because one, you didn't take it for granted. You appreciated it for whatever it had to offer for that moment. And three, you know that everything is temporary. Nothing is forever, let alone is everything permanent. So because everything is not permanent, you cannot allow yourself to be attached to certain things, because when you are, what happens? What did I say? Because I done said it about 3 times already in this video. When you allow yourself to be attached to something, the shit hurts when it's taken away from you. And because you thought you owned it, you are broken when you don't have it, when essentially you're not broken at all. You just hurt because that wound that you try to fill with something else instead of actually taking the time to acknowledge it, you're going to 9 times out of 10 try to suppress it with something else on top. Therefore, creating the same loop until you get the message or the lesson of why you should learn how to be detach from certain things. But yeah, I know it's easier said than done, because, baby, I be getting triggered. But folks will never know when I'm getting upset, because it's up to me to, you know, master the art of detachment from not necessarily my emotions, but the reactions that I can have towards the emotion. Because therefore, if I allow myself to react from the emotion that is attached to whatever that feeling is at the moment, then I'm allowing myself to become that emotion. You know, sometimes certain situations cause for you to become certain emotions, you know, but you shouldn't have to necessarily stay that. For instance, when you allow yourself to be detached from certain things, you're able to allow yourself to receive certain information as well, because you're not going to be clouded. Your judgment is not going to be clouded on certain attachments, because again, like I said before, attachments are, you know, tied to certain forms of thinking and frames of thinking. You know, so for example, if you allow yourself to be in a romantic relationship with a partner and that attachment is not a healthy attachment and that person is presenting chaos or operating in a state of chaos, guess what your fucking mind is going to be? Guess what your emotional body is going to be? Chaotic, because the attachment that you're allowing yourself to have attached to you is essentially gonna be some type of cord that is feeding your nervous system certain things. Not only your nervous system, but your mental system and your emotional system, which is essentially is all tied together to the nervous system. But again, when you have certain attachments, like for example, if you have an attachment with a lover or whatever the case may be, and this lover is a fucking cheater and a liar and this and that and whatever the case may be, and you allow yourself to keep being tied to it, your mental body's gonna be like, ah, go crazy, go stupid, and your emotions gonna be like, oh, I'm so sad, oh, go crazy, go stupid. That's the power of attachments when you allow yourself to be attached. This is why you have to allow yourself to be detached, so that you are knowing what is your energy and what's not your energy, because not all of the energy that you're allowing yourself to feel is necessarily you. But if you do not know how to master the art of detachment, you will allow yourself to become whatever energy is presented to you, because you're not allowing yourself to be detached from certain things or certain energies. That you have to know who you are. You have to know what your shadow is. You have to know what makes you angry, sad, happy, horny, whatever your emotions. You have to know your emotional board, so that when certain things are coming to you, you're not allowing yourself to be attached to certain things because it is a trauma bond or a remind you of certain things, or because whatever. Because essentially, again, like I've said, I don't know how many times already, a lot of the attachments that people have typically are attachments to fill certain voids so that they don't have to acknowledge certain pain. So if you're not acknowledging certain pain, those attachments that you allow yourself to have eventually will present you with some type of lesson to where you have to, face self. And when you have to face self, you have to realize that you have to allow yourself to be detached from a lot of the shit that's around you, because it has the potential of altering at any moment, at any time, good or bad, So, what was I gonna say? With the attachments, far as like, damn, what was I gonna say? Let me bring it back. Let me see if I can go back and get the information.
Wow, man.
I don't know if I can bring it back. I know it's gonna be something about the attachments in. When you are attached to certain things, those things, I can't remember what I was going to say. But anyways, yeah, this is why it's important for you to know what you're allowing yourself to essentially have around you. And I'm not going to say attached to you, but around you. Because essentially, if someone is attached to you, that therefore, it sounds like a legion to me. If someone is attached to you, therefore, that means it's sucking from you. Or it's taking energy from you. Literally, if I hear attachment, that means that it's stuck. And when something is attached, that means it's sucking life force away. This is why you have to be detached. Respect the boundary, or whatever you want to call it. Respect whatever it is that it has presented to you. And not even if it is something bad. But accept that shit for whatever it has to be, so that you don't have to allow yourself to be moved by every fucking thing that has some type of form of energy. We are energetic beings. Yeah. And we're going to fail. That's a part of what makes us who we are. But you do not have to become everything that makes you feel whatever. And in order for you to know that, again, you have to really learn who you are. And in order for you to learn who you are, you have to be okay with learning through certain experiences and being okay with accepting people for who they are without allowing yourself to create certain biasness. That's what I was going to say. Because with certain attachments, when you allow yourself to be attached to a certain idea of a person and that person shows you who they really are, now you're creating a biased standpoint on whatever it was with that experience. Whatever it was with that experience. And now you're going to tie whatever they showed you or presented you, whatever energy that they presented you with, you're going to tie that with all things and all people. And then therefore you're going to be having that mindset of whatever that one attachment was. And you're going to attach that one idea to all things that surround you. And therefore, whenever you are attracted to certain people, that's the attachment or the energy that you're allowing yourself to be attached to certain individuals based off of that one individual. Does that make sense? So whenever you are allowing yourself to be, you know, doing whatever you're doing in your experience, specifically with people, because typically people are the biggest things that trigger us the most, and to realizing who we are and learning who we are. People trigger us. They teach us how to learn who we are. Those triggers are always going to be necessary. But again, this is why you have to be detached from certain things so that you're not overly attached to certain biasness or ideas or emotions that are being triggered, so that you're not swindling yourself or tricking yourself in your mind when it comes to certain things that are being presented to you. I said this in a previous video. When you tell yourself that for instance, everybody likes to say, niggas ain't ish, bitches ain't this, yada, yada, yada. No, it's just the type of beings that you are allowing yourself to attract based off an idea that you had in your mind. So therefore, because you believe that thing to be true or that idea to be true, you're going to keep attracting certain things that's going to show you why that thing is whatever it is, because that's your attachment to that idea. You get it? You got it? Good. Okay. So, you have to be okay with the ugly, the good, the bad. In order for you to master detachment, you have to be okay with all of everything. It's not always going to be easy. It's not. But if you want to learn how to become a better you, you have to learn how to be all of you. And if you're not learning how to be all of you, then therefore you're not even accepting who you are and what makes you what. We have good, bad, and ugly parts of ourselves. And I ain't talking about the physical. The way we choose to respond and react to certain situations. Because I'm not saying that you always going to be, what's that shit, love and light. It's not always going to be love and light. You need some of the darkness sometimes to show you how to find your light. That's the purpose. But you have to know how you're creating certain things based off the attachments you are allowing yourself to have. And when you are, again, attached to certain things, you essentially have to be okay and willing to accept the consequences that comes with certain attachments. So be careful for what you allow yourself to be attached to. Because if you're not willing to accept all the consequences that come with certain attachments, then why you're allowing yourself to be attached? Again, accept things for what they have to offer, accept people for what they have to offer, and accept a person's character for whatever their character is. I'm not saying you have to accept it into your movie or your game, but when a motherfucker show you who they are, believe them.
Believe them, bitch.
I don't know what that TikTok was, but yeah. Believe them. That's who they are. Now it's up to you to allow yourself to be, continue to have that thing attached to your reality, or are you going to detach from it? Even if they are still going to be in your reality, how attached are you going to allow them to be to you? Are you going to allow them to be a legion, or are you going to be detached from them but still allow them to be that person without allowing yourself to be swindled by whatever energy they're projecting to you? That's the art of mastering detachment, is when you can allow yourself to be around certain things that's triggering you, but they're not. Let me rephrase that. When you can allow yourself to be around certain things that once triggered you, but they no longer have that emotional or energetic power to control you. That's when you know you have mastered the art of detachment. People can say shit all the time, and when one thing used to hurt your feelings, they could say it again and be like, da 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 da, peaches and cream, blah 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 blah. Oh, you said something? You trying to make me mad? Oh, boo, blah. Doesn't matter, because you're not allowing yourself to be attached to that trigger or that emotional trigger from certain people or things anymore. You allowed yourself to accept whatever it is that you had to accept, so that you're not overly allowing yourself to be attached to certain shit that's going to trigger you, good or bad. There's nothing wrong with having connections, right? Those are essentially attachments. But connections and attachments, to me, in my opinion, are slightly different, because it's like, yeah, we're connected, but I'm not attached to the connections. We have a connection, but we're not attached. Does that make sense? Because when I hear attached, it sounds like glue. And when I hear connection, that means it's something connected, but it's not necessarily fused together. It's just connected. Because you can disconnect, just like you can detach. So technically they are, I guess, about the same, but it's slightly different. You know, because everything around us is a form of connection. And not all connections are necessarily good or bad, just like all attachments aren't always good or bad. But whatever. Yeah. Learn how to fucking master detachment. And learn how to be okay with self. Because in order for you to master detachment, you have to be okay with being by yourself. And that's when you allow yourself to truly master detachment, because you don't have to have anything around you to bring you happiness or to bring you peace or to bring you whatever those things you're looking for. You know how to find it in self. So now anything that's presented to you, if it comes off as dysfunctional, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to even want to connect with it or allow it to be attached to you in any form anyways. We're out.